Roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning is going to be delivered by Tom Stallings. After the invocation, please. Tom Spencer.
Tom Spencer.
Well, how do you know it's Tom Spencer? Who's calling this meeting? So I got the wrong Tom, but we'll talk about that later. Nobody's probably more surprised than Tom Stallings right now, who's probably sitting back there in his office thinking, uh-oh. So Tom Spencer, would you like to come? It was T.S. I mean, you know, it was.
Regardless, I'm pleased.
Thank you very much, Tom,
Absolutely.
for being here
I'm
this
pleased to
morning.
play with you this morning. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we begin this court session acknowledging you first. We praise you because you are a rock and our refuge. We praise you as the true source of all knowledge. We ask that you soften our hearts to your wisdom and will. With the knowledge that you have a plan, give us wisdom to make the right decisions. Help us recognize that all things come from you, and for that we should give you all the honor and glory. We ask for healing for those who are sick in mind, body, or soul. We recognize that if we turn to you, we will find healing. We ask that you give courage and protection to those who serve us. We ask that you give knowledge and compassion to those who heal us. We ask that you give patience and understanding to those who teach us. We acknowledge our special responsibilities as servants of the citizens of Tarrant County. Help us to administer our duties in fairness and with respect. Help us to understand the privilege that we have to serve you. Help us to seek your will in all things and give you the credit. For it's in Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thanks again, Tom. Spencer.
Members of the court, we have three announcements as it relates to the agenda and then one additional announcement. As it relates to the agenda, under the administrator section, item 9A4, this is an intergovernmental lease agreement between the county and Texas Health and Human Services Commission. We're going to hold that particular agreement for right now. Also, members of the court, under the budget section, item 9C2, this concerns the FY13 appropriation adjustments. There's a revised court communication in your red folder this morning as it relates to that particular item. Then finally, as it relates to the agenda, this is under facilities, item 9F1. This is a professional services contract with elements of architecture. We're going to ask that we hold that particular item also. And then one final comment, members of the court, just to remind you that we do not have a Commissioners Court meeting on October 8th. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of September the 17th.
Move for approval. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Under proclamations and resolutions, the first one that we have is a certificate of appreciation, and I see she made it in from the garage, and she didn't even have her flip-flops on. Maribel, come on up. I'm going to read this certificate of appreciation into the record and then tell you, let each one of us make any comments that we might like to make. Whereas Maribel Chavez was appointed Fort Worth District Engineer in 2002, and whereas during her tenure as District Engineer through August 2013, she played an essential role in increasing the mobility of the North Texas region.
helping to direct $3 billion in public-private partnerships, about $700 million in traditional transportation improvements, and guiding countless other transportation projects. And whereas through her leadership, advocacy, and support for the Fort Worth District, she facilitated complex mobility projects such as the North Tarrant Express, the DFW Connector, the 28-mile Chisholm Trail Parkway, the expansion of I-30 and I-35W, the 3 bridges in Arlington, and the West 7th Street Bridge. And whereas her commitment to find creative solutions through innovative ideas, public-private partnerships, and first-rate communication between the department, elected officials, and community leaders has greatly improved the ability of the state to work with local entities to deliver transportation initiatives. And whereas Maribel's 31 years with the Texas Department of Transportation and her work as a district engineer in Abilene, El Paso, and North Texas shows tremendous dedication to public service and has improved the quality of life for all Texans. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby honor and recognize Maribel Chavez for her leadership and service to the community and her outstanding contributions to improving transportation in our area. In witness whereof, we've herein to set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 24th day of September 2013. And I'll move its approval.
Second. By the whole court.
Motion passes unanimously. Maribel, we really do appreciate everything that you've done for us. And we're excited about you being able to retire, but we hate to see you retire. So with that, I'm going to present this and we'll get a little picture here. And again, thank you very much. Any comments that you'd like to make?
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. I appreciate the invitation, and I especially appreciate the recognition. That's pretty special. You know, in public service, we don't look for accolades. We don't look for pats on the back. We just, you know, we know what our responsibilities and what our job is, and that's what the people expect of us, and that's what we're supposed to do, is just do our job and perform our duties to the best of our abilities. And I hope that in 31 years I finally figured out how to do that. You know, it was a bittersweet decision trying to get to this point, but everybody always said you'll realize when it happens, when you wake up that day and you say it's time, and it happened to me, and the hard part was not being able to get up every day and working with people such as this court, and working with the various entities in these 9 counties that we work with, because and I've told you this, Judge, I can say this because I've pretty much worked in all of Texas. I really have had it's been a privilege for me to work with the best local elected officials in the state of Texas, and I think I can say that because I've been there. I've absolutely worked with the worst, that's for sure.
You want to give us a list?
They know who they are. But you absolutely are the best because you get it. You get it. You get that transportation is much more than about economic development. It's about addressing congestion. It's a quality of life issue, and all Texans deserve the best quality of life that we can provide for them, and that's what we're here to do. And so I very much appreciated working with a group such as yourself, because you got it. And we always, when we got to the table, it was always about how do we solve this? What do we do? What do we respectively each bring to the table? And saying no. I always knew when I sat down with a Tarrant County Commissioner or with the Tarrant County Judge that no was not an answer. I knew that. And so it was, okay, what are we going to do? How do we, as the DOT for the state, what are we going to do? How are we going to figure this one out? And it's not always just about money. And yes, money is important, and we all know we got to figure out how to do it with the most cost-effective way. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's not even about money. It's just about how do you address people's concerns and questions. And I've had the privilege of working with the best staff in the DOT, not just smart, loyal, dedicated people, but people who live in this community and who care just as much as I did about trying to figure out how to make it as good or better. And so the only other thing I would say, and I've said this before, 22 years ago, I had the privilege of working as an assistant to then Chairman of the Highway Commission, Ray Stoker Jr. And I think I'm living that Yogi Berra saying of deja vu all over again. 22 years ago, we were having the same conversation in Texas as we're having today. We were talking about how to fund transportation. We were talking about the role and the structure of the DOT, and we were talking about high-speed rail. 22 years ago, we were talking about how do we bring high-speed rail to Texas. My hope is that 22 years from now, I'm not before somebody saying, how are we going to fund transportation? What is the role of the Texas DOT? And how are we going to bring high-speed rail to Texas? I hope in 22 years, I hope we've figured all that one out. So thank you very much for what you do, and I very much appreciate having had the privilege of working for you. Thank you.
Maribel, thank you. Maribel, I don't know if you even remember this, but you'd probably been on board 2 weeks, maybe a month, and a group of us out in Northeast Metroport called you up, somehow got you to come out and get on a helicopter. Yeah. And we flew you around. That was Hillwood's helicopter. And we gave you the tour, and you've been our friend ever since. And gosh, you certainly got, you saw a lot of progress and a lot of projects, and certainly in our area and the county as a whole and in your district that, many of us thought would never happen. And they have happened. So you were there to steer the ship, help gather the dollars, make it all happen, and I can't thank you enough. So, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do remember that day. I think y'all did that deliberately to bring a girl from far west Texas who grew up on a farm. I didn't even grow up in the city of Pecos. And you put me on a helicopter and you hover me between runways at DFW Airport.
I know.
And the only thing I'm thinking of is, Dorothy, you are not in Kansas anymore.
We landed that helicopter on right out to the east side of Main Street in Grapevine.
Are you sure there wasn't any threats off the helicopter?
No.
There were, one of the things, Commissioner, was there were no seatbelts on that helicopter, and I wondered why.
That was a subtle hint. Maribel, I want to thank you for getting up every day and coming to work and doing the best job you could for the people you serve. You are why we teach STEM to young boys and young girls. You are a shining example of what can be if we invest in the future. Thank you for being that icon, that role model, that young boys and girls who may be struggling to find support for the achievement of their dreams. You are that example that says, yes, I can. Thank you.
Well, Maribel, I just wish that I have more time to get to know you better. I just begin to get my feet wet as far as transportation is concerned, and here you are retiring already. And I wish that you would stay to see State Highway 360 through. So if you have any wisdom to share with me, I'm all ears. And happy retirement, but please do come back, especially when we kick off the construction of State Highway 360 South. We would like to see you there at the ceremony.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Just got to stay focused. Stay on
You
it.
got to stay focused. Huh?
Stay on it. It takes a long time.
Thank you
but-
for all you've done, Mary Bell, and I wish you'd stay 31 more years, and let's see if we can get Jacksboro Highway finished.
We all have our wishes and our hopes. I tell you what, just to show you how dedicated that Maribel is, you retired the 31st of August,
Yes, sir.
and I keep seeing her at all these meetings. She's not being paid to be at these meetings anymore.
I'm on the farewell tour.
She's on the yeah. So, it's one thing to be on the farewell tour at luncheons, but to be on the farewell tour early in the mornings is an altogether different deal. And I think it just speaks to truly to what you said, that it's more than just words, that it's also actions, and the fact that it has meant so much to you, but that it still means a lot to you. And like you said, it's kind of hard to get out of that habit of getting up and coming to work with us folks.
It is.
And so we'll send you an application for TRTC. You can be an individual member, and you can come and scream at those folks from TxDOT for not getting those cotton picking roads built.
Yeah, I know where the skeletons in the closet are.
Well, I'll bet you do. Again, thank you very much for coming out this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a proclamation from Commissioner Brooks. And I guess I would just request that this might be a proclamation issued from your office, by your office, and not necessarily from the court. I would hope that as a group that all of us will not bring to the court as a full court actions which could be looked at as more of a political nature than not. And I guess I would just simply make that request at this time.
I will accede to that request. However, it just strikes me as odd that we cannot honor the oldest political advocacy group in Tarrant County. We always take pride in the fact that we are not a partisan body. I would have no qualms about voting for something that honored the Republican Women's Club or some other organization just because one of my colleagues presented it. That's the kind of courtesy that we generally extend to each other around here. If that is not to be the case today, then I will withdraw the motion. I will withdraw the resolution and submit it under my own office's authority. However, I consider it to be a sad commentary on the state of bipartisanship.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. You have before you the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Public hearings. I believe we have a couple of public hearings today. Mary Louise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This morning, I am asking the court to conduct a public hearing on the county clerk's fiscal 2014 records preservation and restoration plan. Following the public hearing, I am seeking the court's approval of the plan.
This is a public hearing, and I'll open it at this time and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I'll close the public hearing and ask for any action that the court may have.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Luis.
Mr. Wilder.
Thank you, Judge and members of the court. I too seek approval for our yearly plan on those, the expenditure of those funds which are fed by a dedicated fee and are to preserve old records that go back into the 1880s. And I asked for that public hearing, and I do have members of my staff here, depending on how much detail you want to go into, that I will be happy to have answer questions.
This is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at this time and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I'll close the public hearing and ask for any action by the court.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have 3 additional items to bring to you this morning. The first, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a letter of engagement between the county and KPMG to serve as our outside auditor for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2013.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the court approve a letter of engagement with KPMG, which outlines the audit procedures related to our Housing Assistance Office financial data, which will be submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Finally, members of the court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the Tarrant County 911 Emergency Assistance District's fiscal year 2012-13 budget.
Move approval. Second.
You said 2012,
you know,
2013. It says 2013, 2014.
I think that it's wrong in my court communication. It is 2013-14.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good. Ms. Tidwell.
Good morning. We have 2 items for your consideration this morning. The first item is an approval of Multi-Bank Securities, Inc. as a broker-dealer. This particular entity was brought to our attention via NACO, and it is an online service that will enable us to be more independent and actually less dependent on smaller or local broker-dealers. So we're excited that we'll be able to use this service to actually go out and see what's in the market and consider where the best place to put the county's funds for investment might be.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the other item we have is for you to receive and file the Tarrant County financial statements for the period ended August 31st, 2013.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Ms. Snyder. Your team did all right this weekend, didn't they?
They did well. Thank you for asking. Excuse me for passing out revisions to the special purpose budget, but we did have one pending issue that has now been resolved.
Congratulations. But you did it. Thank you.
Well, you have a couple of budgets that are included in those backup pages. We are focusing on pages 52, 53, and 54. Those have to do with the District Attorney's Office, Law Enforcement Fund, which supports the Narcotics Task Force, We have resolved the issue that came up late on Thursday, and so we are now presenting you an annual budget for that operation. Other than that, the only changes that we've made and what's included in here, of course, also is our capital. And listed on your court communication, there is a list of where we were, or a dollar amount of where we were after our last budget hearings, and the items that the budget office is recommending that we either include or exclude from that list. With those very, very brief comments, we are recommending the approval of the special purpose budget, the last phase of the 2014 budget process. And if there's any questions, we're happy to answer those.
Does this include the, you and I had a discussion yesterday about the narcotics task force?
It includes an annual budget for them.
Pardon?
It's an annual budget for them.
Not a 4-month?
No, sir.
Thank you.
The only significant thing that needs to be mentioned in that, it does not include economic crimes forfeitures in there. We did eliminate a vacant position that has been filled for the last couple of years with a temporary, and that is going to continue in that scenario. We just formally eliminated the position.
Okay.
Deborah? On the centrifuge for the medical examiner's
Correct.
office, did they find another way of funding that, or decide they did not need it? Or
We
what?
had, and that was for $12,000, there's 2 centrifuges. Actually, we had a grant opportunity. We applied for a grant for a couple of $100,000. The state of Texas awarded us funds toward that grant, but only in the amount of, and I don't have the number specifically in front of me, about $111,000. So then we were quickly trying to make sure we had the resources to utilize that grant money, but also find the rest of the funds to fund the piece of equipment. I asked the medical examiner to look at the capital that was already on the table for them and see if there was any changes they could recommend to assist with the additional $119,000, $115,000 worth of funding, and that's what they recommended. They said it was an item that could last for another year.
Okay, thank you.
Long explanation for if they removed it themselves.
Any other questions?
I move approval of the fiscal year 2014 special purposes budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Before I sit down, I want to thank everybody in the audience for all their help during the year, and of course, for your leadership. I have failed to properly introduce Kara Hoekstra. Kara, stand up. Kara joined our office back in November from the district attorney's office. She was officially promoted to the budget analyst position when? It's all a blur this time. Yeah, July or August. So I want to thank her. She's done a very, very good job being thrown into a situation that none of us were prepared for, but good work.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
We looked for you for the prayer this morning. You wasn't here.
Go ahead.
The second item on the agenda is the acceptance of a subrogation recovery check in the amount of $3,801.50, requesting authorization for the auditor to cash it.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Glenn? Ms. Worthy?
Move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have a second item. It's an approval of a resolution to promote healthy food in the workplace. The county participates in the Obesity Prevention Policy Council that was actually convened by Commissioner Brooks. And a few months ago, you might remember, we brought a resolution to you about walking, which was the first initiative by the Obesity Prevention Policy Council. And we're encouraging our employees to take the stairwells, and we gave them measurements around the building. Well, the next initiative is healthy food in the workplace. And this resolution encourages those departments or whatever that are having meetings to offer healthy choices. We are currently in this building, in our vending machines, we have 22% what is called a Fit Pick, healthy choices. We plan to spread that to the other buildings. Public Health has already adopted this initiative. Our goal is to have 30% Fit Picks in the vending machines. As we all know, obesity is a huge problem for our country as well as our community. Texas' obesity rate is over 30%, and 50 to 75% of our health care costs come from lifestyle choices, and one of those that we can help with is obesity, and that contributes to so many illnesses. So we hope that departments, assuming you approve this resolution, will do their best to give healthy choices when they're serving food at meetings and what have you. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I will take a risk here and move approval.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. I do appreciate that. I will say that we go to our PEBC meetings, and consistently, like all the time, they never give me cookies.
That's correct.
All we get are this fruit and vegetables.
I believe they have adopted a similar policy.
Well, there's a lot of broccoli going around, I'll tell you that. But I would also say that, if we're really going to be serious, and we talked a little bit about this morning in our strategic planning deal, that, maybe one of the areas we should be looking at is how to look at improving the health of the county, not only in the different areas that we work, but also individuals that work in those areas. And so, maybe our goal should be to even move above 30% in our vending machines. I don't know that I'll go out on that limb and say 100%, but I know, but if that's what we're about and that's a major part of our budget, then maybe that's something we should begin to focus more on, and I hope that we will as we kind of move forward. So I thank you for that, and as we did this morning, I kind of challenge your area to begin thinking in that strategic plan about what we do for the health of our employees, and not just the physical, but it could be physical, it could be mental, it can be financial, it can be a lot of different things to help our family, our county family here to do better. So, any other discussion?
Well, I'm just happy that coffee is not on the bad choice list. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Put sugar and cream in it.
I'm sorry?
It is put sugar and cream in it.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Not yet, huh?
Come on forward there, Razorback.
That team they got.
Rutgers, can you spell Rutgers?
Well, Mr. Wright and I want to sell more pig products in the vending machines, but not an option. This is kind of a somber day for he and I. I'm not sure if it would be appropriate to request that we close out the court in memory of our loss to Rutgers, but I'll just throw that out there.
You can throw it out there.
We have.
I just wish Renee was here so we could add a third to that list.
We decided we were resting our starters to chase Johnny football around Saturday, and y'all be thanking me when he goes down next week.
Yeah. Better not be starting that trash talk.
Or not. We
Well,
do
you
have.
know it, you'll be wearing a.
Are y'all going to show up for that game?
Sorry?
Are you going to show up for that game?
I actually, Judge Evans had a couple extra tickets, but I'd be sitting with people like Debbie, so I chose not to go. We have 4 items for reconsideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid 2013-120, sharing of contract for graphic and photographic supplies. Recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors meeting all specifications.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is another bid award recommendation for bid 2013-132. This is our annual contract for facsimile and multifunction machines, maintenance, repairs, and supplies. Recommendation would be to award on a price per year for labor costs per hour, percentage discount from list price, percentage discount off of parts list. awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors as shown in the court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our number 3 item is another bid award recommendation for bid 2013-134. This is a bid for the 911 District Regional Office expansion. Recommendation be toward the low bidder, Imperial Construction, amount of $112,000. If this is approved, we're seeking contract approval as well as acceptance of the payment and performance bond.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is an item in regards to RFP 2013-098. This was an RFP that we brought to court on August 6, 2013. It was approved under Court Order 115756 for urine testing, both primary and secondary vendors, for drug, alcohol, and laboratory confirmation testing for CSCD. On the 21st of August, we received a letter from Expertox actually declining this particular award. Apparently, this part of the contract was more than they anticipated, and they asked to be not considered for the award of this item. When these services are required, we're really obtain quotations. It's a small dollar amount. I think I was told $2,500 estimated for the year.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is there any consequence to Expertox for them backing out of their bid commitment? Typically, we suspend those firms for a period of time.
2 years is what we've done in the past, if that's what the court
Are you
chooses.
recommending that in this instance?
Yes, sir.
Is that automatic, or do we
Not
need
automatic.
to approve that?
Not automatic. We bring it back to court, and based on your decision, we make that.
Typically, you do it at the time of the award of the new bid, which would be now.
Does that need to be part of the motion? I'll include that in my motion.
Then I will second that as well.
Okay, we have it a part of the, we're kind of amending the motion now from that standpoint. My legal eagle over here is not saying anything to the contrary, so I'm assuming we can do it.
Vote, did they?
We're fixing to. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brooks, you have an item, an interlocal agreement.
Have an interlocal with the city of Everman, item 9N, 1A and B. I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Wynn, you have an item, but I think we approved it under the consent agenda.
We should,
For
yes.
some
Yes.
reason. Do we have any appointments today? Being none, then we'll move forward to the approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 3 items to bring to the court today. I will be doing the first one. This was an item that we brought to you last week already. We're seeking input from the Commissioner's Court on nomination of up to 5 candidates for the Tarrant Appraisal District. We've received a candidate from Commissioner Fickus. Commissioner Brooks has submitted one this morning, Mr. Johnny Bennett, and that will be added to the list. Our goal is to come before you next Tuesday, the 1st, and ask you to pass a resolution. So if there are any other nominees that you would like to place on our resolution, please let me know so that we can complete that and get that ready for you guys to vote on next week.
Are we voting, seems to me that we might be voting earlier than we normally have voted.
These are not casting our votes. These are simply to make nominations.
Nomination.
And then, once we do that, I believe that we need to take the final vote on casting our vote allocation in December, which we will.
Okay.
If you will just send them to my office, we'll go ahead and include them. Members of the Court, we could move to item B. This is the update on public health. Dr. Brewer is here to address the Court at this time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have several items for you this morning. First of all is West Nile virus. For the week of September 14th through 20th, we had 163 mosquito pool samples that were submitted to the laboratory. 4 samples tested positive for West Nile virus. 3 were in South Lake and 1 in Grapevine, and they did spray this past Sunday. We've also been informed that there was a positive test in Arlington, a ramp test. They will be submitting that for PCR confirmation today or tomorrow, but they sprayed last night in Arlington. To date, and that was a Friday, our total West Nile positive samples is 27. That was samples. And our positive samples tested in Grapevine, Arlington, Pantego, Grand Prairie, White Settlement, Fort Worth, and South Lake. To date, we have 4 human cases and no deaths reported for Tarrant County for this season. I do want to remind everybody
Excuse me,
that even though
Dr. Brewer, how many of those 4 cases were neuroinvasive? One?
No. 2.
2?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I do just want to mention that we're getting late into the season, but I don't want anybody to let their guard down. There's still mosquitoes out there, obviously still some positive mosquitoes, and we've gotten these 2 late cases here. We've had some rain, which is wonderful, but just a reminder for people to take all the precautions about dumping standing water and still using repellent until we get to the end of the season.
We might make an effort to call the construction folks on the North Tarrant Express and some of those areas. I noticed this morning as I was driving in that there's still quite a bit of rain water that is pooled in some of those construction sites.
Oh, okay.
We might just remind them
Bill,
to drop a few donuts.
All right. Thank you. Second update is on pertussis. Year-to-date, 475 cases. Since last week, we've had 29 new cases reported. That's still more than we want to see. That's less than what we were seeing earlier in the summer. That is coming down, but we still don't have enough of a trend to say that we're on a continuous downward trend. Consequently, we are upping our efforts to reach out to our WIC clients because we're realizing that those are the highest risk people, pregnant women, the infants, and the families. And we're adopting a program called cocooning, which is really looking at the family members surrounding the infant under 12 months of age. And that's a great place to reach that population. So we're really doubling up on those efforts. We're also asking our community health workers to carry the message out into the community. In addition to that, we're really targeting, coming up with a campaign to get to the Hispanic community, a media campaign, and we are in the process of contacting and hopefully working with the Tarrant County Immunization Collaboration around this cocooning program in hopes that they can help us reach out to the OB community.
I believe that part of an earlier presentation was the fact that although kids get a booster shot at age 12, immunization effectiveness starts to wane about age 8. Is there any consideration of contacting the Centers for Disease Control and try to get some adjustment in that age 12 booster shot so that we don't have a 4-year lack 4-year gap in
Well,
immunization
that's an
coverage?
excellent question. Since this is happening statewide, the state is very aware of it, but we will double-check and make certain that they're having that conversation with CDC. And the Academy of Pediatrics is also very involved in setting those standards. But we will double-check to make sure that message is being sent. Thank you for bringing it up. I just wanted to mention, last week I said we were going to bring to you our 9th new waiver project, and in fact we already have. We did that on August 13th. That was our fall prevention project. So we are in the process of submitting that. And then I just wanted to follow up on the great conversation earlier from Robin in HR about the Obesity Prevention Policy Council. If anybody here is interested in more information about the healthy foods policy at meetings, we've got a lot of information and guidelines and sample menus on our website. If you just click on health, and there's an icon on the right for the Obesity Prevention Policy Form, and it's got all that information there. So thank you for your support on that.
Nothing more on measles? Are we out of the?
We've had no more reported cases.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips. Looks like you're anxious to come forward and talk about 2006 county capital improvements.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to update the Commissioners Court on 2 of the facilities management construction projects. First, the 1895 courthouse site improvement project. The old civil courts building demolition is going well. I have 3 photos for you to show you, and Jim got them up just timely. 3 photos to show you what's left of the old civil courts building. This particular first photo gives you an indication of just how close our 118-year-old building is to the demolition work. It's just within a few feet. Sadalco Construction Company and Lloyd Neighbors Demolition Company have done a fantastic job of protecting our historic courthouse from harm. I'd like to congratulate them. The next photo is a shot of the basement and sub-basement. The sub-basement's in the foreground. It kind of gives you an overall picture of how big that is. You can see the 2 large excavators in the picture. Also, they have built a temporary ramp made out of the construction or demolition debris, so the excavator can be driven down into the sub-basement and conduct some work, and hopefully be driven back up again. Now, this last picture is in the middle. There's a white box. That white box is the concrete electrical vault. Now, inside that vault is 3 large electrical transformers. We built that vault last year for about $250,000. That vault protects, the purpose of it is to protect those electrical transformers from harm during demolition, and it was successful, and also to provide a permanent home for those transformers when we cover it up. Now, that vault, you can't see it, but there's actually a breezeway and a shaftway to the side where you can access and get down in the vault on the opposite side. Now, in that picture, you see the top 3 or so feet of the basement walls being removed onto the left, and it's still lacking right above the vault onto the right. We're removing the top 3 feet of the basement walls, and then the rest of the basement walls and floors will stay in place. Now, once all the debris is removed from the basement, Sadalco Construction will fill the basement up till about the top of the roof of the electrical vault with approximately 1-inch diameter rock. And above that, they'll put a irrigation net, and on top of that, the rest of the balance up to the topsoil level will be a 3-inch diameter rock. And inside that 3-inch diameter rock strata, we'll be placing the irrigation cistern. This cistern is made up of approximately 50-foot long legs of 5-foot diameter concrete pipe, 5 of them. They're all manifolded at the top together, laid to rest in this 3-inch diameter rock strata, and will be covered up with some more fabric and then topsoil. Then we'll be able to use that cistern to hopefully irrigate the property for many months out of the year.
And grow mosquitoes?
There hopefully won't be any mosquitoes on the inside of the cistern.
You might, while you're thinking about it, you might go get you some of those donuts and dump it in that standing water right there.
Yes, sir. Moving on, the cistern actually will be complete in November. Now, the final phase of the 1895 Courthouse Site Improvement Project will hopefully be bid here in 30 days or so. The construction drawings are at the City of Fort Worth. For plan review, we've had a couple of opportunities regarding meeting historical needs and also meeting the requirements of the City of Fort Worth. And Art Wyman and others are working through that now.
So what is going to, I'm going to go back to this little, you've got these little semi-pipes, right, that you're putting all together?
Concrete conduits, like go underneath, like drainage conduits, 5-foot diameter concrete pipes.
RCPs. But are they going to be just half and you're going to?
They're going to be all connected together, come in sections, like 4-foot or 5-foot sections. They're all connected together for 50 foot long. And on the end of them, there's going to be manifolded together with some more concrete pipes. And they're going to all be lay as a unit or assembly, horizontal, inside this bed.
So they're not going to be half pipes, they're going to be a full
sir.
pipe?
No, sir. It'll be full enclosed cistern. It's like a tank, just like a tank. So it won't have any water that will be standing or anything like that.
Okay.
You said 5-foot diameter pipes, but you said 3 inch.
Yes, Commissioner. We're putting 3-inch diameter rock. It's going to lay in this 3-inch diameter rock that surrounds it. That was the best rock, engineering-wise, to keep it from moving around.
So how big is that space?
It is from the top of that, basically from the top of the roof of that vault on up. So it's about 10 feet.
10 feet. Okay.
10 feet or so. Then on top of that, we'll get topsoil.
But you're taking 3 feet off of that.
That's correct. On the left, there's 3 feet already off of it.
Right.
You can see where the truck's parked.
So how many gallons of water are you going to store in these 5 pipes?
Commissioner, somewhere between 45,000 and 50,000 gallons. That'll work most of the time because the City of Fort Worth has some water leaks in their pipes in downtown Fort Worth, and we've been pumping about 2,800 gallons of water a day out of that vault, have been for many years. Free water. Moving on to the new civil courts building project. The project's moving along well. One of the main goals between now and the end of the year is to get the building essentially in the dry. We're going to be doing that by putting a temporary roof on the building, also finishing the wrapping, the green moisture barrier wrapping that you see out there now, and also installing the windows. Right after that, we'll start the air conditioning, chillers and air handlers, and get some type of conditioned air in the building so the millwork contractor can start installing the walnut veneer wall panels in the courtrooms. That's in the critical path of the project in 2015. There's a lot of millwork. Now, we think Yates is going to probably have to buy some special dehumidifiers to help the air conditioning because we're not going to have it all controlled and things. So they have to control from that point, January on, we'll have to control the temperature and humidity in that building forever.
When are you going to put the permanent roof on?
We'll do that after we do all of the mechanical work on the roof. It's something we started back in the family law. We found out when we opened up the Justice Center back in 1991, we let them put the roof on before we finished all the mechanical work. We didn't finish all the welding, a lot of cuts in the roof, and we just paying extra money, probably extra $40,000 for a temporary roof. Now, you'll see the angels rise in December or January. And lastly, we do have
It'd be good if they could do it around Christmas time so we could have
it will be good. And lastly, we do have an opportunity with the rooftop equipment sight lines. It seems that the roof screen that we've designed and approved didn't actually hide all the air conditioning equipment we'd hoped it would. Now, it looks like the structural framing that holds up the brick that hides the air conditioning equipment may not hold additional brick courses. So we may have to go back with some metal panels that will match the building metal panels that surround the windows on the sides. There's about 2-foot wide panels on either side of these windows, and it will look good. It will look very good. And so we don't have it worked out, but it will look great. And that's all I have this morning.
And the angels going on the back?
We're designing that now. We'll be putting an angel on the back and bringing that cost to you as quick as I can.
So we're installing 3 and we've got 1 spare.
We have a spare just in case one of the blocks chips or something. Thank you.
How tall is my courthouse? How tall is yours? Mine's not tall enough for those angels.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
And this time, we will recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.
What's that?
Having returned from our closed session, we'll now address the following matters.
Yes, under item E1 for the district attorney, we're requesting permission to file suit against the city of Fort Worth.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
There being no further business at this time, we are adjourned.